Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Voidfall. Both versions. Let's get rolling. Alright, so in this video I want to compare the Voidfall Galactic Box or the Deluxe Box to the Retail Edition or Standard Edition. So this is the Galactic Box on the left and the Retail version on the right. And so if you've watched some of this channel before, you probably know that I'm a co-owner of an Etsy store that sells a bunch of Voidfall stuff. So there's a link in the description, but I want you to know I've taken all of the add-on stuff out of these boxes. So I'm only showing you what comes straight from the manufacturer in each of these boxes in this video today. So you've got a good idea of what you would actually get. Now at time of recording, the retail box is available to purchase from your friendly local game store. The deluxe edition or the Galactic Box is only available on the secondhand market from eBay and Geek Market and other places like that. So this was made available to backers of the Kickstarter and GameFound campaigns, but there's been some online chatter already of an expansion coming for Voidfall, and that would not surprise me because it seems to be doing very well. So I would not be surprised if in the future the Galactic Box is made available to order from Mind Clash Games again. So whether you're looking on the secondhand market now, or if you're looking to buy a new Galactic Box firsthand sometime in the future, this is what you can expect. All right, so what should be most obvious currently is that this box, you definitely can't see the height. This one is more than twice the height of this box. But this part of the reason is this one comes with organizers and this one comes with plastic baggies. So these organizers are not perfect, but they are helpful. The ones that are less perfect, visit that Etsy store and see what we've got. We've got you covered on that front for either box. But as you can see, everything is organized here. Got booklets, organizers under here. So we'll take a look at those in more detail as we go through the box, but let's figure out what pieces we want to look at specifically. So I'm going to move the boxes out of here and focus on individual pieces. Okay, so the first major component that we should compare is the fleet tokens or the ship pieces. So if you have the Galactic Box, you will get these storage trays from Game Trays with all these minis in them. So in this box you've got your carriers and dreadnoughts, which are all very cool. They're high quality. If you're into painting, you can paint them. That's not my jam, but that's okay. Here's your sentries, destroyers. Let's grab one of these here. And you have player corvettes, which are the main ship in the game, and then the Voidborn corrupted corvettes, which have this cool orange corruption coming out to match everything else. And they're all in these little compartments. So for comparison, in the retail version, you'll get these cardboard tokens. So in this bag, I've got just corvettes. So these are player corvettes and Voidborn corvettes. These you can definitely tell apart. And these are double layer cardboard, so they've got a little bit of room there to hold the fleet power cubes or your player cubes on them, so you can see how many ships are there and who they belong to by player color. And then let's get the other ships here. Here's a destroyer, a sentry, here's a carrier, and a dreadnought. So one nice thing that they did here was they put the improved technology symbol on the carriers and dreadnoughts, because on those you can only have one fleet power if you have the basic version, and then up to 3 if you have the improved version. So that's a nice visual reminder. Now for all of these, I've pre-assembled some of these. You can't really do it for these larger ships, but by default, it's just the ships in each of these tins. And then each ship, when you want to play with it, here's a destroyer, has an arm that you put on it, and then a base piece that the arm stands on. The base piece has room for 3 cubes. So this base piece does not have the visual reminder for your dreadnoughts and your carriers, because these are all universal. You can put it on any ship. So you just have to remember in that case. But the mini stand, this is, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 inches off the table probably. and it looks really nice. So it looks super cool. I think, in my opinion, it's a little difficult to differentiate these cardboard destroyers from these cardboard corvettes. I think they look a little bit similar from, if you're not right on top of it. And then also these take up a little more space because even though this carrier is like a pretty big piece because it sits above the table, they're all going to have just the footprint of this base stand, which I guess is a little big. I don't know. Maybe it's similar. But that's at least what you can expect in terms of fleets. So a lot of people have said that this is kind of a pain in the butt to assemble all these ahead of time, and they're not wrong. My recommendation on that front is if you can just assemble them this far, at least the ones that go in this container here, just put the arm on it and store them that way, and then it's a lot less to do later, especially for the Corvettes and the Voidborn Corvettes, because you're going to be using a lot of those. You might not need to assemble sentries if your game doesn't have sentries, for example. So some of these you just assemble as you go. So those are sort of what you can expect on your ships. Again, I'll plug the Etsy store. We've got some different ships that I think incorporate the best of both worlds on these, and it's what I prefer to play with myself. But this is what comes in the box. Okay, now the next two pieces I'd like to show you are the Harbinger tokens and the Voidstorm tokens. So these are out of the standard retail box. So these are all double-sided. They're the same on both sides. So these cardboard tokens are, they're fine. They're cardboard punch out, what you'd expect. They're decent quality. So these are the Harbingers. These are the Voidstorms. These act as like walls on the map that you can't necessarily cross through or can't do easily. And then these are some baddies that you want to try and take out. So if we look at the Galactic box, you're going to get orange standees. So these are the Voidstorms here. And I think they look really nice. This is the bottom. They stand really well. I've had no problems with them. They look pretty sharp. I think they stand out a little bit better than these. They do take up a little more space. And then the Harbingers as well are standees, and they're like little busts. So it's the same thing. If I hold them side by side, it's the same image. But I think this one looks a lot nicer. And they're really good quality. They've got sort of that, I don't know what any of this stuff is made of. I'm not good at materials, but it's got almost like a rubbery type feel to it, but it's nice and solid. So I really like those as well. So the reason, here I'll tip this one down so you can actually kind of see it. The reason I wanted to show these in this order is because if you buy the retail version, you can go to Mindclash's website and you can buy just these pieces from the Galactic version to upgrade your game if you'd like to do that. So you can buy, it all comes together in one box, the ships, the Voidstorms, and the Harbingers. So those are available to purchase if you don't like this particular aspect of the retail version. Now, personally, this is just my own opinion, I think these are great. But I think these would work just fine. The ships I would definitely want to upgrade, but I don't know if I would necessarily want these either. Again, these are great. They're super cool, but they do take some time to assemble when you want to play. And so again, I think we've got a much better solution than either of those on the Etsy store, and that's what I prefer to play with myself. As much as I like these, and this was part of the reason that I backed the game to begin with and that I went for the Galactic version, I really don't use them anymore, which is a little sad, but that's my opinion on all of these pieces. So let's put these away and take a look at some others. Okay, so the next thing we're looking at here is some of the common supplies. So again, on the left, these two trays come out of the Galactic box, and then these bags here on the right are from the retail version. So in the Galactic box, these two trays, you can see they also have some of the fleet stands and the little arms that hold them up. So the common supplies have some of those on each side of the table. But then we've got our guild tokens here, installations, bounty tokens, reclaim tokens, and glory tokens. So for both versions of the game, these are all cardboard components. So 100% completely identical. Really the only difference is you've got these trays in the Galactic edition. Now, for a number of reasons, I'll make this plug one more time. All 5 of these components, there's replacements on the Etsy store. You can get a link in the description. But there is one thing I definitely want to point out. There are metal versions of the guild tokens and installation tokens that you can buy from Mindclash Games. So I've got those here. Here's the guilds. Here's the installations. They're metal. They're really nice, and they're double-sided and painted. So these are great, and I like to use these personally. This is what I use. This does not come with the Galactic box, so I didn't want anybody to be confused about that. This is an add-on regardless of which box you get. If you want these metal tokens, you've got to add that on separately. So keep an eye out for those on the Mindclash website. I know they were, at time of recording, they've been sold out for a little bit, but I think they've got more coming. So that's the deal with these metal tokens. While we're talking about metal tokens, we'll take a look at a couple other pieces. So for the retail version, we'll push some of this aside. These are the trade tokens. So these are cardboard, and then these are the player turn order tokens, and these are cardboard as well. If memory serves me, you do not even get cardboard versions of these with the Galactic box. You just get metal straight out of the box, and there's no duplicates. Like when I ordered these metal tokens for my Galactic version, because they were a separate purchase, I still ended up with all these cardboard tokens that I kind of usually keep in a bag just so I have them, because I can't bring myself to get rid of them. But you don't get cardboard versions of these in the Galactic box, you get metal. So same thing with the player order markers. So these are all, the player order markers are double-sided, both cardboard, only on cardboard. On the metal version, they're just silver on the back, they're blank. Not that matters, because you put it on the board and then you might move them around twice during the game. The trade tokens, I think the symbols are a little easier to read on the back because they use the same icon that's throughout the rest of the game. It's a little focus card with a 1 and a equal sign with a slash through it. Whereas the back of these trade tokens, these metal ones, they have the same symbol, but it's not painted. So you can only see it in relief. Whereas the front side is painted, so it's just a little bit easier to see. But these definitely feel really nice in your hand. They've got some weight. So if you're into metal components, trade tokens and turn order markers are metal in the Galactic box. They are cardboard in the standard box. And then for either version, you can buy separately metal guilds and installations from the Mindclash store if that's something that you want. So again, let's put some of this stuff away and take a look at some new pieces. Okay, so the next thing we're comparing here are the tech and agenda trays. So this is a storage tray here that comes with the Galactic box, and this agenda tray is the lid to it. So I just kind of wanted to show what was going on there. So this is the storage for the agenda cards. Here's the Harbingers and the Voidstorms, which we already saw, as well as trade tokens, which we looked at. More of these stands for the fleet minis, and then your population dice and your Voidborn fleet power cubes. So all of that goes in this tray here, and you just put this on the table. This is the lid. So when you store it, something like that. So here's the agendas for the Galactic box, and here's the tech tray. The tech tray is sort of part of the storage system, but it doesn't really store anything. It's not a lid like this. But these trays come in the Galactic box, and they're super helpful. If you have the retail box for the techs, you have nothing. You just put the techs on the table, and that's a real pain in the butt because you're going to want to pick this up and pass it to other people that you play with. If you're playing solo strictly, maybe you can get away without it, but even if you're playing a 2-player game, you're going to want some sort of tray to pass this around. And in a 3 or 4-player game, this is set up for 1 or 2, where you've got 8 techs here. In a 3 or 4-player game, you can have up to 12 techs. Plus, you're going to want to store these improved techs somewhere too. So it's nice that it's got that little card slot. Now, for the agendas, all you get is this cardboard piece, which also comes with the Galactic box. It's the same piece, but it's got a place where it sits here, and all your other cards are just on the table here. And again, that can make it really painful to try and pass that. You might be able to pass 1 tech card or a couple techs, but there's no way you're going to mess with all this stuff because you've got 4 stacks of 7 cards here plus 4 cards here, and they're in a very particular order, and they line up with this, and you might have corruption markers on it. So this is kind of a pain to play this way. That being said, These are both kind of giant, and they take up a lot of table space on a game that already takes up a lot of table space. So I know I'm saying it a lot, but go to the Etsy store. We've got a solution, fits in both boxes. I think it's a little bit better, but this is what you can expect out of the box with each game. Now, one other thing that I want to point out, these cards here are not sleeved. These are out of the retail version. And then all these other cards I grabbed out of my Galactic box, and you might notice that they're sleeved. Obviously, all the cards are identical and the same size. The Galactic box by itself does not come with card sleeves, but during the Kickstarter and GameFound campaigns, Mindclash had the option to order Paladin card sleeves with your purchase. So they provided it, but it was separate. So if you're looking for a Galactic box on the secondhand market, some people might have those sleeves for sale with them, but they don't come in the box, which would be, I think, fairly unusual for any game. But just to point out that all the cards, of course, are the same. That's why these are not sleeved. It has nothing to do with retail versus Galactic. It's just that they were offered that way during the GameFound campaign when I bought it. Now, there's a few other storage components that we should take a look at. So let me clear this off and we'll grab those in a second. Okay, so next up is storage for player trays. So this is what comes in the Galactic box. You've got 4 of these. I'm going to say it again, go to the Etsy store, but you take the lid off. It's clear. You can't see what color's inside, which is kind of a problem with it, but you've got your resource dials here, your influence dials, and then this is stuff I kind of recommend putting in here. So you've got your colored player turn order marker. You're always going to start with a couple of ships. So here's a couple of fleet stands, if that's the way that you're playing, and a couple of pre-assembled corvettes here. 1 corruption marker, your 14 fleet power cubes, your 9 player color focus cards, standard ones. You're always going to start with 2 glory. You're going to have a home sector population die, and then an outpost sector population die, and then 3 of these civilization track markers. So each player gets a tray like this with all this stuff to help you set up more quickly. And there's just nothing comparable in the retail box. So these same components are just loose in the box or mixed together in baggies like this, which is not the end of the world. And you can always rearrange your plastic baggies in a way that you think makes sense. But just for comparison purposes, this is handy. And I'm just going to keep hammering that Etsy store because improvements. But it is really nice to store all your player colored pieces together. And it just makes setup so much quicker. So if you can get your hands on something like this, I do think it's worth it. So we'll put this stuff away and take a look at some more pieces. Okay, so next is house storage. So after you've sorted out who's going to be which color, you need to figure out who's playing as which house. And so on the left here is what comes in the Galactic box. This is how you store all the house components. It's technically storage. I don't know if I'd call it a storage solution. It is super painful to use in my opinion. So you know where to go in the description to find something better. But in the retail box, you're just putting all these cards in plastic bags, however you see fit, here on the right. So just as an example, take this top cover off. So here's House of Storin. Most houses are going to have a couple of, one to 2 house specific replacement focus cards. You have your 2 origin cards, which tells you how to set up, and it's got your starting agenda on the back. And then 3 copies of the technology. So the basic version with influence, without influence, and the improved version. So you'll have 2 sets of that, and then the Fallen House card on the bottom. This is super painful to work with, especially during setup. But that's what this stack is here. And there's nothing comparable to this in the retail box. But of course, you do have all the gameplay components, so you can play just fine. So again, I'll direct you to Etsy, but let's look at something else. All right, so next up is your house mats, and this one's maybe more impactful to the actual gameplay than just storage solutions. So in the retail version, you will get these 14 house mats, which I've got in alphabetical order here, and each one's kind of long. This is the gameplay side. On the back, it gives you some strategy tips and sort of a general overview. So these come with both versions of the game, and these are identical. In the Galactic box, you'll also get these 4 triple layer cardboard player mats that are in the 4-player colors. So you pick the player color that you're using, and you take this mat and you slide it in, and then this is super slick and satisfying. There we go. So it lines up really nice, and so because it's layered, you can move your civilization, track markers down these little squares, and they're not susceptible to table bump. You move your fleet cubes between these spaces, and then you can deploy out this way. I wouldn't actually run the cube out that way, but symbolically that's where it goes, which is helpful. And then you tuck cards under these 4 slots and into these 5 slots. There's nothing that tucks here. This is just like, hey, store your glory tokens on this side, store your bounty token and reclaim tokens over here, and then you can keep your played focus cards here in this section. So functionally, this works the exact same way. You still can tuck your cards and keep your cubes where they go. It's just a little bit more susceptible to that table bump problem. Now, these squares on these tracks are pretty large, so you'd have to bump the table super hard to not know exactly where those were, but potentially it could be an issue. And so these are just really nice, and they match your player colors. So this comes with the Galactic box. If you have the retail box and you want this is also available as a separate purchase from Mindclash, so you can go on their website and find it there. So this I do recommend, but these are also sizable because they're all triple layer, and there's 4 of them. There's a decent amount of thickness to this, so storing these in your retail box might be an issue. I don't know if you'd be able to do that or not. Maybe if you really maneuver things around, you might have to store it separately, but I think those are a great add-on, in my opinion. Okay, so the next pieces we need to compare are the hex tiles on the map. So the Galactic version and the retail version look the same from this top angle, but these are about 3 times thicker because these are triple layer cardboard and these are just regular cardboard. And so the difference is you can store guilds and population die and installations on each of these slots here on the tiles, but these are inset and these are completely flat. So to demonstrate that, I've got a couple of pieces here. So this guild just sits on top, and you can see it's kind of gear shaped, and it can spin freely because this is just a flat surface, whereas this one has an inset, and so it'll hold it in that spot. Same thing for the installations. Oh, yeah. I'm so used to the triple layer. I'm trying to make it slot, and it doesn't. So this will slot here, and this one will slide around. So these are the triple layer, and they hold up really well. Oh, well, that was some pretty violent shaking, but they hold up extremely well. These will shake apart fairly easily. So it's just how much it holds up to table bump, or as you're moving your fleet tokens around or other sorts of tokens as you're reaching across the map, if you happen to bump, like that kind of stinks, and you have to reset it, where this is less susceptible to that. But they are all still, of course, the same gameplay components as you would expect. So it doesn't affect gameplay at all. And they're all still double-sided, and they have the same stuff on both sides. So they functionally perform the same role in the game. You're not getting different content in anything in Voidfall. It's going to be the same content in both retail and galactic, but definitely makes a difference. And this is on both sides as well. So triple layer, single layer. That being said, there are no triple layer ones available separate for purchase. So if you want these, you have to get them from the Galactic box. You can't get them separately. So in my opinion, that's one of the more substantial upgrades that's only in the Galactic box that you can't go ahead and purchase later. So if that's important to you, that's where you got to go to get it. Okay, so everything else in the retail and galactic editions are going to be the same from a component perspective. So all the cards, all the components that I didn't necessarily show, such as the galactic board and the crisis board. I didn't really dive into the fleet cubes, but all the cubes are the same. All the cards are the same. All the crisis cards, alert cards, all that sort of stuff. They're all identical. One thing maybe worth noting is if you go back and look, if you're researching and you're looking at Game Founder, Kickstarter, and you see that the Galactic box has more population dice, that's just old information. At the end of the day, that was not true. They've got the same number of population dice in both games. and of the same types as well. So fixed versus variable population dice, you know, the black die versus the purple die, it's all the same. So if you see any mention of that, you can ignore it. So again, these two boxes, they're the same in this dimension and in this dimension, but if we stand them up here, just so you can get a sense of the size difference, it is very significant. We got black on the inside here and cardboard color on the inside there. This is void color. That's special. But yeah, huge difference. It's a little bit more. The retail box is a little under half the height of the Galactic box, and most of that is taken up by the storage solution and all the minis and that sort of stuff. So if that's a big factor for you, then you should take that into account. But again, if you think you're going to get the retail version and then get a bunch of add-ons like the triple layer player mats, in particular, those are pretty thick, then you know I don't know that they'll fit in this retail box, and so you might have to take that into consideration for your storage solution as well. So that's a comparison side by side of the Voidfall Galactic Box versus the retail box. And again, this is recorded and released in early 2024. So I imagine there's going to be an expansion at some point, just based off the chatter online. So things can definitely change. They might Mindclash might add other offerings to their store or get rid of some offerings. So who knows when you're watching this in the future how current this is, but this is the state of things when the game first released its base version. Now, I've mentioned many times during this video the Etsy store that we've got with some improvements to some of these components and storage solutions. So if you're looking to find out more info about that, I've got links in the description. There's videos dedicated to both the Galactic Box version and the retail version, so you can take a look at what offerings might work for the game version that you have or are thinking about getting. But the high-level summary is everything we've got on that Etsy store works with both versions of the game. So I'm going to stop hammering on that for now. And if you're still here, I appreciate you watching. Go ahead and subscribe, leave a like, and send me a comment. That would be awesome. You can share this video with anybody who you think might enjoy it. And I'm going to stop talking and go play some games, and I hope you do the same. So thanks for watching Table for One. I will see you next time. Happy gaming.